Good evening to our member organization leaders. We appreciate you joining us this evening as we provide an overview of the federal, state, and national governing body requirements for youth soccer organizations in Massachusetts. A quick reminder, we're going to be using the Q&A function for attendees to submit questions for this evening's presentation. Submitted questions will be answered at the end of today's presentation. Joining us tonight, we have our Executive Director, Mike Borislow, our Risk Manager, Mary Relic, Kayla McClellan, who works with Mary in Risk Management and Registration Administration, and Jamie Balboni, who works on the Marketing and Communications alongside myself, Rob Holliday. The players and families are at the heart of everything we do at Mass Youth Soccer, and they're a big part of your mission as member organizations. We recognize that the administrative burden to fulfill registration and financial requirements is large. However, despite the challenges, we have about 25,000 registered adults that are dedicated to meeting the needs of youth athletes and their families. This slide demonstrates some of the various ways we aim to serve the needs of our member families, organizations, and leagues. They may get less and less exciting as you move down the page, but all are equally as important as we strive to meet the needs of children. I'm going to start this slide with a caveat that if we tried to diagram the whole ecosphere of youth soccer, it would have taken all evening to finish the presentation. But effectively, this slide diagrams a member player and the various relationships and memberships that they will have through the governing youth soccer bodies. So if you think of any youth soccer player who plays, whether it's recreational, travel, or club level soccer, they'll be a member of their soccer organization. That soccer organization, if they're playing town, travel, or club, will be a member of a league also. But through their affiliation with their town or club, that player and their family will be a member of Mass Youth Soccer. All members of Mass Youth Soccer are members of US Soccer and US Youth Soccer. The $22 registration fee that's paid to Mass Youth Soccer, $1 is passed through to US Soccer, and $2.25 is passed through to US Youth Soccer. The US Soccer Federation is the national governing body for the sport of soccer in the United States, as provided by the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee. It is charged with promoting, governing, coordinating, and administering the growth and development of soccer in all its recognized forms in the United States for all persons. The USOPC, with the logo in the top left, is a nonprofit corporation federally chartered by the Ted Stevens Act of 1971. It's important to note that the USOPC does not directly report to the federal government or receive federal funding. The gray circles represent some of the external bodies that influence the USOPC, US Soccer, and Mass Youth Soccer through laws, regulation, and compliance requirements. Ultimately, these influence the requirements that we have for our member organizations. The registration procedures for member organizations are impacted by federal requirements, such as Safe Sport, state requirements, such as CORI and SORI, and US Soccer initiatives for participant safety. Our goal this evening is to provide an overview of the who, why, what, and how of the key requirements so that you can focus on the fun. I'll now pass over to Mike, who will discuss affiliation with Mass Youth Soccer.
Good morning, good evening, I'm sorry, everybody. And what I'm going to be covering for the next couple of slides is not really glitzy, but it's imperative that we understand the importance that all of our member organizations are established business entities. Quite often I tell people that, everything that takes place behind the scenes is monumental just to have our kids play on a piece of grass and kick a ball. But it's so important that we pay attention to the requirements. The importance is that if we're established correctly as business organizations, we can focus on the more fun stuff than having to worry about what needs to be done back office. So all of our towns, clubs, and programs, we refer to as member organizations, programs, clubs, leagues. So all Masters Soccer member organizations must be established as a business. If it's a not-for-profit, there's certain requirements we'll touch on the next slide, and the same thing, a for-profit. We do have some leagues, and many clubs are for-profits. The one key thing is that if the organization is established as a for-profit, it would be an LLC and a corporation. No sole proprietors or partnerships. In essence, the business has to be established with no connectivity to an individual person. It has to be more or less run as a business entity. Also, all businesses, member organizations, must maintain proof of being officially registered with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts as a business division, as a business entity, and up to date on all required reports. You can take a look at this on the Commonwealth of Massachusetts site under the Secretary of State for Business Divisions, and take a look at where your organization is. One of the things that takes place with the turnover that we have in many organizations, that this responsibility tends to fall through the cracks. And what may happen is if the annual filings, if they're not done for an organization, after 2 or 3 years, the state can revoke that business entity, and the name is up for grabs, and anybody else can operate under that name. So it's important to maintain all of those relationships with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. As well, have an IRS business tax ID. Our member organizations must operate under a separate business tax ID, not under a personal Social Security number. And the other requirement is establish and maintain a proof of having a business checking account. Personal checking accounts for business operations are not permitted. It's so important that all of our member organizations maintain their good standing as an established business in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. All of the instructions and steps regarding the information that you shared is found on our website on the About page under Affiliated Leagues. Some additional requirements. Next slide, please. Oh, there is. I'm sorry, we're there. Some additional requirements have to do with documentation. Once again, it's important that all member organizations have the proper governance documentation in place so that they can operate as a sound business entity. So if you're a not-for-profit, you have to have bylaws and constitution, individually or a combination of the two. These are required for nonprofits. For-profit businesses, articles of incorporation or operating agreement, and a constitution. And these are typically established when the business is set up as a for-profit, and it's a part of the filings with the state. What's very, very important is that we ask all member organizations to have established, written, published, and provided organization policies, procedures, and rules. This goes for both in-town programs, clubs, and leagues. This is how your members know what they're supposed to do, what your policies are, how your organization is run, everything that's so important for them to understand the rules and the operating procedures of that organization. And these must be established and made public to your members. Codes of conduct. Codes of conduct, as of about a month ago, were approved by the Massachusetts Soccer Board to become mandatory. So codes of conduct and zero tolerance policies are up on our website. These protect all participants and provide our children with a safe, nurturing, and healthy place to play. Most importantly, these codes of conduct, which all organizations now must follow, protect our young referees, or referees of any age for that matter. But more specifically, they're there to protect our young referees who are learning how to referee just as much as we're helping children learn how to become players. And so codes of conduct are now required to be followed by all organizations. Another very important submission is the annual leadership report. This is important because it keeps us, Massachusetts Soccer, up to date with contact information. We know who to contact if there's an emergency. We know who to contact regarding any insurance issues. It is so important this leadership report be maintained and be kept up to date. And we look for that to be basically updated twice a year with every season, but at least once a year it should be up to date. If there's no changes, it still needs to be re-entered so that we make sure that we have all the correct information. And lastly, if something of importance is registration waiver language. This protects all of our member organizations and gives appropriate permissions, waivers, disclosures, and the such. Our registration language is found on our website under the Administration Member Toolkit section, and you'll see the registration waiver language. Most software providers are aware of this, and they have put this into the registration systems. But it's important that this be in there as well, because it truly does protect the member organizations. Once again, all of this information is found on our website under the various sections. Next, we'll go to Kayla, who's going to talk about player registrations.
Thank you, Mike. So as mentioned, I'm going to spend the next few minutes talking about player registration and adult registration. First, let's talk about player registration. Every club is required to submit player registration data to Mass Youth Soccer. This is done for insurance purposes, to protect families and organizations, for player safety, and for data tracking purposes. For the spring 2023 season, the initial submission is due Friday, February 24th. The final submission is due on May 19th. For these spring submissions, you will only include new players and adults participants for the spring. So that means anyone who did not participate in the fall should be added. A complete registration submission includes player data, the fee submission form, and payment. You will submit each of these three things with your initial submission and your final submission. If your organization uses the Sports Connect Club product for your registration, your data flows up to Mass Youth Soccer into Sports Connect Association. If your organization uses a different platform for registration, for example, God Soccer, Admin Sports, you will submit your player registration data using the player registration upload template and email that to Rachel Wu. You will also need to submit a fee form with both the initial and final submission. You will include the number of players and number of adults and email that form to Rachel as well. The fee form will calculate how much is due, and you can submit payment via check or by paying online. Next, let's talk about adult registration. So our annual registration and risk management requirements are done in pursuit of safety and to adhere to federal law, Safe Sport, and US soccer policy. To be in full compliance with adult registration and risk management requirements, adults need to complete the annual Mass Youth Soccer adult registration each year that they participate. This registration is what initiates the CORI and national background check processes approximately every 3 years. Risk statuses are updated based on the results of the background checks. All adults must have an approved risk status to participate. Additionally, adults need to complete the Safe Sport abuse prevention training annually and a concussion training biannually. We accept US Soccer Learning Center's Intro to Safe and Healthy Playing Environments course, or the CDC's Heads Up training. We have lots of resources to help guide you. We have help guides, video tutorials, and those are all available on the adult registration webpage. There are 3 governing bodies that guide who is required to register with Mass Youth Soccer. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts states that all adults who may have the ability to have direct and unfettered access to minors, this includes players and referees, need to have a CORI processed. The US Center for Safe Sport and US Soccer expand on that to include any adult who has regular contact and authority of minors, which includes all member organization leadership roles. For more information and specifics on this, we have a document posted on our website called Who Must Complete Adult Registration. It also will be included in the follow-up email you receive after this webinar. And lastly, just a note to say we are dedicated to the continuous improvement and simplification of this process where possible. This includes conversations with Sports Connect and with appropriate governing bodies, and we really do appreciate your feedback, patience, and flexibility. Next up, we have Mary Relic, our wonderful state risk manager, who will speak on managing adult participant requirements and MA Safe Soccer.
All right, thank you, Kayla. As Kayla mentioned, the role an adult plays within your organization dictates what risk management requirements they need to fulfill. The risk manager for your organization is responsible for managing compliance of these requirements in the Sports Connect registration system, along with printing and distributing the adult's required credential and ensuring the adult is CORI verified. Each organization is required to have a designated risk manager who must be listed on your annual leadership report. This ensures they receive important information regarding background checks and safe sport incidents and can take appropriate measures when the need arises. Presidents are always copied on those emails as well. We understand that some of you have more than one role within your organization, so please make sure to put your contact information on the leadership report in each role that applies to you. Okay, so how are all these requirements managed? There are 2 documents you need to be aware of. Both are available on the Risk Manager Information webpage. The first is the Risk Manager Responsibilities and Guidelines document, which outlines the step-by-step process needed to manage your adult members' requirements. It basically states what your responsibilities are as a risk manager and how to complete them. The second is the Risk Manager Checklist, which contains instructions on what's needed to become your organization's risk manager. Okay, and now we're moving on to MA Safe Soccer. So to comply with the Safe Sport Act and U.S. Soccer policy, Mass Youth Soccer implemented the Athlete and Participant Safety Policy, which has 6 components that must be reviewed. Of those 6 components, the one that may need the most clarification is the mandatory reporting law. So to understand what should be reported and to whom, the Center for Safe Sport released the Reporting Obligations for Adult Participants document. It outlines the difference between child abuse and prohibited conduct, and it explains the different ways each are reported. And that's on the mandatory reporting webpage on our website. Another key takeaway is it's important to understand that all incidents must also be reported to Mass Youth Soccer through the Players Health Reporting Portal. And this is because by notifying Mass Youth Soccer, it allows us to evaluate the seriousness of the alleged incident and, if need be, put in temporary measures to help ensure the safety and well-being of all involved. And that would be the claimant and the respondent or accused. And then last but not least, you should be aware of the Safe Sport Adult Athlete requirement, and that's fully addressed on its own webpage on our website. All right, and now we are off to Mike.
Thank you, Mary. So touching back on maintaining good standing, as well as being a proper business entity, there are certain things all organizations must do. And the importance of being in good standing basically means your organization has the ability to run under our umbrella, as well as under U.S. Youth Soccer and U.S. Soccer. So it's very important that our members maintain good standing to enjoy the benefits as provided by all the organizations. So with regards to good standing, it's important that all organizations follow established policies, rules, and procedures as provided by U.S. Soccer, U.S. Youth Soccer, Mass Youth Soccer, and the Commonwealth. Mary touched on quite a few of these aspects of rules and policies. For example, adults who have not been properly CORI checked, background checked, taken their safe sport training, taken the concussion head injury training, cannot be on the fields, plain and simple. And so if we're putting any adults out on the fields who have not met these requirements, we're in violation of several different laws, including a federal law having to do with child abuse, and that's what prompts the abuse prevention training. So it's important all organizations make sure that all adults in the organization, coaches, assistant coaches, team managers, board members, directors, everybody in the organization is properly adult registered, as Mary talked about, because that helps you be in good standing. You have to meet all obligations as required for the various entities. And the one I really want to touch on is meeting all financial obligations in a timely manner to maintain your good standing. Mass Youth Soccer, unlike other state associations, we do not charge a club fee or a program fee or a league fee. Many other states do. The way we basically consider an organization to be affiliated and registered and sanctioned by us is through them submitting their data to us, as well as the fee submission form and the payment. So as mentioned earlier with the data, if you're on the US, if you're on Club Connect at the club level, you don't have to submit your data to us. We get it automatically through the system. So there's no upload of data into Sports Connect. If you're on another system, as mentioned, such as Got Sport and or League Administrator or League Athletics, we still require the upload via the template that is used and that is uploaded into the Sports Connect system via that methodology. But the important part is that the fee form and the payment must be made with that first submission, because if it's not received, you haven't basically consummated your relationship with Mass Youth Soccer visa being registered and affiliated with that payment. So that's very important. So overall, we need to follow the rules. Next, I'll talk about insurance. And Mass Youth Soccer, compared to most every other state association out there, has probably one of the most robust insurance packages available. And once again, to maintain your insurance coverage, you have to be a member in good standing. And the insurance is there to protect you and all of your members if something bad were to happen. So we have several lines of insurance I'll go over briefly. Excess accident medical insurance. This is excess insurance for all members in the event that there's an accident takes place. So if somebody was to get hurt, let's say it's a player or a coach gets hurt, there would be there's the process for notifying us of the claim, which is so important. We need to be notified within a certain time limit, which is all explained on our website, but not 6 months to a year later. That would invalidate the claim. The other part is when we get a claim, we take a look to see if it qualifies, because not all claims will qualify. And then after that, what happens is you must, if anybody's injured, they must make a claim on their personal insurance first, and then they can make a claim and we'll take a look to see if it qualifies or not. And then payment takes place if it does, if it's a qualifying event. Some of the things that could disqualify it is it didn't happen during regular normal soccer activities. It could have happened, in some other type of activity, which is not covered by us. The other insurance that's so important in member organizations is general liability and excess liability. We have over $12 million between the two policies of coverage for our members for liability. Basically, liability protects our members. In the event your organization is sued, you've got the insurance there to protect you if it's a covered event. And so that's important to know that you've got that insurance available. Sexual abuse and molestation insurance used to be under liability. Now it's a separate policy. It's a form of liability policy. In the event that your organization has had a bad actor who did something bad and the organization is sued by the person who was hurt, that insurance is there to help protect you if it is a qualifying event for that type of coverage. Cyber liability insurance is there for every single member organization, as well as management insurance, which includes the very important D&O insurance, or directors and officers insurance. for all member organizations, as well as theft coverage. A full overview of all the policies is available on our website under the administration section, and then click on insurance. And the other part of insurance is the COI. Basically, most field and complex owners require this proof of insurance, having them listed as an additional insured in order for you to use their facility, use their fields, use their court, whatever it is you're using in the event of a claim, loss, or suit. So this is available to all of our member organizations. And in order to have a COI issued, there's a form online. You complete the form. It needs to be completed by a president and/or, I believe, the registrar are the two only people that can request the COI. But in order for us to issue a COI, I'm going to get back to you must be in good standing. And one of the most common events that takes place is COIs are being asked for during the month of August. But meanwhile, the organization has not submitted their initial registration data to us in July. And so if we haven't received any registration data, any fee submission form or fee payment, in essence, the club is not currently in good standing until that's received. And once that is received, we can issue a COI. So it's so important to keep all the timelines straight so that we can get your COIs out to you. Now, if an organization come springtime has had no additional players, there's been no additional or ads for players or adults, just notify Rachel Wu, and then we'll accept that email as maintaining that standing with us coming the spring season. Once again, a full description of all these activities are on the website under administration/insurance. And now we'll go to Rob.
Thank you, Mike. Earlier in tonight's presentation, we discussed meeting the needs of players, and two of the key needs for players are fun and development. And hopefully that's an area where we can help you, whether it's through formal coach education courses or informal coach education, clinics, consultation, or meetings. We have a technical department with highly qualified staff available to help meet the needs of your organizations. Some other areas we can help is with parent engagement, providing tools, resources, and access to partners, or supporting your governance, your board of directors, maybe even helping you with the hiring process, recruiting staff, and succession planning. We have experience and availability to help. That's what we're here for as a member service organization. Simply put, if you need anything, you don't know, you're unsure, please ask. We're here to serve you and your members. And with that said, we'll move into the Q&A section of tonight's presentation. So Mike, I will start with the first question. It's about types of individuals that need to be quarried. Must a director who has no contact with players, i.e. a patch coordinator or equipment manager, need to be quarried?
Well, that's a great question. And actually, I see Kayla smiling right there. And Mary, we were just discussing this with the authorities that we need to check with. In essence, from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, really what it comes down to is any person who has the possibility or the ability to have unfettered or unmonitored access to a child must be quarried. And so if an individual in an organization will never have any contact with a child, for example, an equipment manager, I'm not sure about that because most equipment managers are either out at fields or at a location where the children are as well. And so equipment managers would definitely fall under the state's requirement of needing to be quarried. Now, if there's a patch coordinator or somebody that serves a role for the organization and never has any interaction with the children, is not out at the fields with the children, has no authority over the children, then they may fall into what we call a team coordinator. For example, let's say there's a parent that's in charge of scheduling, and that's all they do. And they don't have any communications or contact or any authority over children. Then in essence, they would not need to go through the full process of the safe sport, and they wouldn't need to go through the concussion training, but they still may need to be queried. It all depends. Will they have the ability to have unfettered or unmonitored access to a child? And Kayla or Mary, you want to add anything to that?
I think you covered
I'm
it.
getting the nods. Okay. I can take the next one as well, Rob, if.
Yep.
Okay.
So a frustration for many of us on staff, as well as those who are working with volunteers. Is there a plan to consolidate all of the adult training into one forum? We consistently get frustrated parent volunteers that get lost in the links trying to fulfill these requirements.
So in essence, right now, unfortunately, the required courses reside in different homes. The U.S. Center for Safe Sport is their property, belongs to them. And also what they would like is everybody who takes that course is to establish an account with them, so they have a record of that. With regards to some other courses, the concussion course, if you take the CDC course, it's basically taking the course online and having your risk manager in your organization upload their certificate and verifying you there. What we are working towards right now is we're about to introduce a relationship with an organization on helping us to build a Mass Youth Soccer learning university. And we're hoping that this organization can provide access to all the courses under one roof, and then it would automatically update the adult's account. So we know that's a need. We know it's frustrating, but there is some solutions that are being looked at and worked on.
Thank you. Mike, I would add to that in any forum, whether it's with US Soccer, Safe Sport, that we are certainly one of the most vocal organizations in the room trying to ensure that we reduce some of the burden on volunteers, because we recognize it and we understand the challenges you're going through. So we'll keep fighting on your behalf, and hopefully in the not too distant future, it will be a little bit simpler. Next question, Mike. Are we moving towards digital adult credentials?
First, let me say we're not moving away from credentials. So the question is, can we get to digital credentials? There's some discussions we're having with the various leagues as to the use of the credential and how it is to be displayed and worn. We have talked about going digital. The challenge there is, that the purpose of the credential truly is to demonstrate to our parents that the person out there on the field with their child has gone through the proper checks and they've done everything they're supposed to do, thus the wearing of the credential. A digital credential doesn't display that to a parent. And so it's, we want to take that into consideration as we take a look at some other choices. Now, take away the credentials and talk about pass cards. Certain organizations have gone to digital pass cards. Many organizations have gone to a photo on roster in lieu of the pass card. And so there is the use of some digital solutions in that area. But with regards to the credential, not at this point in time.
Thank you very much. A good question that's come in regarding Safe Sport and players over the age of 18. If they've taken the Safe Sport training through other sports, does that training suffice?
Well, I'll take a stab at it, and then Mary or Kayla will probably correct me. So, so right now, the answer to that is yes. But what you need to do is you need to go into your account with the U.S. Center for Safe Sport, and there's the processes by which you can then designate other sports that you're affiliated with. So the U.S. Center for Safe Sport training course for anybody 18 or over is transportable to other sports. You just need to make sure that soccer, if let's say you've taken it for wrestling or for volleyball or for some other USOPC sport, that you want to make sure that you go in and have the US soccer number applied to your account, and then we will get the API feed on that.
Mary, Kayla, anything to add?
Well, I would just say that if they don't know how to do that, Safe Sport, you can contact Safe Sport themselves and email them a ticket in telling them what you need to do, and they'll add US Soccer to your account so that the information will flow back and forth to us as well.
Thank you very much. Next question. I thought I'd read an email that made reference to the ability to verify IDs virtually. Is this an option, Mary?
Yes. So the Commonwealth of Mass did approve teleconferencing for CORI verification. So that was really exciting. We had that when there was a state of emergency because of COVID. And once it ended, we were supposed to go back and meet that person in person. Well, from now on, if you CORI verify somebody via teleconferencing, FaceTime, Zoom, however you'd like to do that, you're verifying first name, last name, date of birth, last 6 of their social, looking at the CORI acknowledgement form, making sure everything's right. And if that all is correct, go ahead and CORI verify them, and you no longer have to meet them in person.
Excellent. Thank you. We'll give it a minute or two to see if any additional questions come in. While we're waiting, I will remind you all that we will send out tonight's slides and a video recording of this evening's presentation. It'll go out on Friday along with the invite to our AGM, which takes place on Sunday, March 26th. The AGM will be virtual this year. So we'll be sending a link out. It'll be hosted by a Zoom, but thank you all. Getting a fuse. An AGM is an annual general meeting. Oh, we've got one that's come here. What happens if Sports Connect hasn't automatically sent player data to Mass Youth Soccer? Who would be the most appropriate person to connect with there, Mary?
So if Sports Connect, the club product, didn't send the information up to the association level, so that could possibly mean your programs aren't properly integrated with Mass Youth Soccer at that level. That would be contacting the Sports Connect support team at that club level and going over that information. You can always send me or Kayla, or me and Kayla, an email, and we can, take a look at it for you. But that's usually what it is. If the program wasn't integrated correctly, then your data doesn't flow back and forth. And we need to fix that as soon as possible.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much to everybody for attending. We really appreciate your time and all that you do for the children of Massachusetts. If you do have any additional questions, particularly if they're specific to your program, please reach out to us. Mary and Kayla are the registration and adult registration, but any broader questions, Mike or myself are more than happy to answer. So thank you very much again, and we look forward to seeing you on the fields in the spring.
Thank you all.